You still don't have it.
Sir, do you remember testifying about this to the farther to the right?
Farther to the right.
Yep.
Keep going. Keep going. A
Is
little
that
more.
53 number down there? That column?
Right.
So
can
you
we
take-
can we scroll up a tad so you can see the headers? There you go.
Okay.
No, okay, go ahead.
So am I in the right column relative to start? Is that the column?
So there's two columns. Like Z is relative to where it started, and then positive is forward, and then as you back up, once you go past 0, it becomes negative.
Right. So what I want to do is have you direct us to the column where you calculated 87 feet.
It's in two spots. It's at the end of column Y.
Right? We go all the way down. Is that in the yellow there? Is that 87, sir?
It is.
Okay, is that the 87 number you were referring to?
Hold on a second. You asked me to identify. So then it's, see where the one next to it says minus 53?
Yes.
0.429. If you go up, so it's not a little bit down, a little bit, and add, see where it's changing directions at 34.157?
Yes.
You add those two together, that gives you the same result. So it went 34 feet forward and then 50-something feet backwards.
Right. And what is the 87 feet traveled, is that what you're indicating is the distance traveled during the trigger? Is that what the 87 represents to you?
That is so 87 represents the total rearward distance traveled during the trigger.
Okay. So you believe 87 represents the total rearward distance. Did I hear you correctly?
Correct.
Now, can you
Just
please...
hold on, to be clear. So it starts, it pulls forward, then it backs up, passes where it initially started, and goes 53 feet further back.
That's what I want to get to. How many feet did you say on direct, and did you just say now that it went 87 feet in reverse?
Correct.
Okay.
From its furthest point forward.
Well, that's what I want to get to because I want to have this point clear. How many feet do you believe the Lexus went in reverse based upon your PowerPoint presentation? Not when it went forward and then came backwards. How many feet do you believe that vehicle went in reverse?
Your question doesn't make any sense because when it went forward, then it went in reverse.
How many feet do you believe the Lexus went during the trigger?
So it went a total of 80, it went 34 feet forward, then it came back 80, or another 53 feet past where it went.
Exactly. So, you've testified that the 1162-2 trigger event represents a backwards maneuver, correct?
So again, that was clear. It initially pulls forward and then backs up.
I would like you to define, so it's clear to the jury, do you consider the event of 1162-2 just backward movement, or do you consider the trigger to be forward movement and adding to it backward movement? Which one?
So can we pull the slide up?
Sure.
Could you zoom in? There you go. No, go back to the left. So that T in the third column for data ID represents the trigger. If you scroll over a little bit to the right, where the highlighted yellow blocks are, you can see 1 is a forward drive gear, 0 is neutral, 2 is reverse. So that's where it's switched from forward to reverse. I mentioned the brake. So you have it on the brakes coming in, slowing, stopping, going into reverse, and then backing up.
So you conclude that the vehicle for this trigger went 34 feet forward, is that correct?
Correct.
How do you know the vehicle didn't go 150 feet forward? How do you know it just went 30 feet, 4 feet forward? How do you know that?
So the only data we have is this 10-second window. And so we have the velocity when it's going forward. We know how much time it took to do that. So that tells us how far it would travel. Velocity times time is distance.
So are you saying that it is a certainty that it went forward 34 feet and there's no other number of feet it could have gone forward? You're absolutely certain of the 34 number?
No. Again, if you look, see where it says vehicle speed?
I see it.
So at the start of this event, which is the trigger -5, so the trigger is actually where it's triggered, and it takes 5 seconds before, 5 seconds after. But when the trigger happens, it's actually stopped. But the 5 seconds before, it's going 13.6 miles an hour forward. So at the start of the data, it's still going 13.6 miles an hour forward, but it's slowing down. You can see you have the brake, where it says brake SW, which is short for switch. The brake switch is a 1, which means it's on. So when this event data started, it's going 13 miles an hour.
I'll ask the question a different way. Are you certain that the distance traveled forward during this trigger event was 34 feet? Are you certain?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain during this trigger event.
Pretty certain or certain?
Well, I've checked the math. I've had people check my math. So I try to be as accurate as possible. I would say I'm certain,
Okay.
but I'm an engineer.
Okay.
So there's no absolutes. There's no 100% in my job.
So you're certain of the 34 feet, and is it correct that you're certain of 53 feet going backwards? Are you certain of that, sir?
So backwards from its initial starting position.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And therefore you are certain of a total of 87 feet traveled that you have at the bottom in that yellow-orange. You're certain of that as well?
87 feet of backing, correct.
Okay. Now, you also testified on direct, as I understand it, in slide 23, that different numbers represent different gear states of the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And a 0 represents neutral,
I think it's either neutral or park, but I'm pretty sure it's neutral.
a 1 represents drive,
Correct.
a 2 represents reverse,
Correct.
or a 2 can represent slowing down. Is that correct?
Not for a gear shift number.
So you didn't say on direct that 2 could represent reverse or slowing down.
God, I hope not. It doesn't. So those numbers simply represent, is the transmission in drive? Is it in neutral? Is it in reverse? It doesn't tell you anything about whether it's slowing down or not. But the brake switch and the brake pressure and the longitudinal accelerometer data gives you some information on that.
Okay. So if Your Honor, we could go to slide 30, please.
Okay.
Mr. Wolk. And I want to do it generally. There's not a need to read any specific number. I just want it clarified.
Mr. Alessi, so is this 30 or 31?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Your Honor, you are correct. It's 31 in the most up-to-date presentation. Thank you. You see all the numbers in blue font on that slide, sir?
I do?
Those are all numbers that you have placed on that slide. Did I have that correct in your direct presentation?
You do?
Okay. So this Excel spreadsheet, there's also numbers in black, correct?
Correct.
So all the ones that are in blue, those are numbers that you have placed into the spreadsheet. Correct?
Correct. The one exception is column N, where it says ship position.
Yes.
I changed green to forward and red to reverse.
So the data in the columns in blue are not from the original data that was downloaded from the vehicle, correct?
Like, for example, if you look at column H, I simply did a unit conversion. So it's the same number, it's just in different units. But the black numbers represent exactly as it comes out of the vehicle, but it's the same number.
All right, that's what I wanted to get to. So for clarity for this slide, when you download this data from the vehicle, what is in black, those numbers just come right out, correct?
Correct.
As they're stated. But the blue numbers, they don't come out like the numbers in blue. You have to do something, some calculation, some application to get to the blue, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, no, we're going to keep that up, Mr. Woke, please. Thank you. And when we need to get to the specific numbers, we'll be fair and make sure you can see them. Now, in these columns, do I understand it correctly that you attempted to account for wheel slippage in the revolutions per minute speed values produced by the car?
Not here. You're looking, this is 1162-1. The wheel slippage occurred in 1162-2.
Okay, and so if we go to a slide with 1162.2, we will then go to the slide you believe represents wheel slippage, is that correct?
There are data points in that represent slippage.
That's my question. In which slide, sir, would you like to pick?
35.
Thank you. So we will go to slide 35. So,
I've highlighted the slippage.
exactly. So you agree that there is data that shows that there is wheel slippage with the Lexus SUV during trigger event. Let's enlarge it for this one here. The trigger event, the number 1162.2, correct?
Correct.
And as I understand it, you testified that this trigger event was caused by a depression of the accelerator pedal at more than the 30%. Is that correct?
It's a transition into reverse and then a quick acceleration exceeding 30%
So let's
in reverse.
Okay. Got it. So the accelerator pedal being depressed to this degree, more than 30%, can be the result of wheel slippage, correct?
It doesn't necessarily work that way. I mean, you can have wheel slippage at any acceleration, technically, depending on the roadway. It's just what is in the data that shows that it's slipping. It isn't necessarily because of the accelerator. Normally, that's what causes slippage. But it's the data. When you look at the data, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. It's increasing in speed, but yet the longitudinal acceleration is dropping.
My question, again, doctor, is you can have an accelerator pedal depressed greater than 30% and it be caused by wheel slippage. That can occur, correct?
The wheel slippage does not cause the accelerator pedal.
I'm not saying a cause and effect. I'm just saying a correlation. You understand what I mean by a correlation?
Let me, if I may, try and straighten this out. So, applying heavy acceleration can cause the wheels to spin. Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to get at. Alrighty. So in your review of the materials that are related to January 29, 2022, did you become aware of whether there were, and you said you extensively reviewed documents, did you become aware whether there were people at 34 Fairview?
Yes.
And approximately how many people, without regard to names, just number, how many people did you become aware were at 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022, the early morning hours? How many people approximately did you become aware were present?
It depends on which time, but there could be as many as 16.
As many as 16. And let's talk about the time period from midnight to 1 a.m. Do you have an understanding of how many people could have been present at 34 Fairview at that time period?
So I'm going to see you at sidebar on this, Mr. Mayor.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Welcher, am I correct in my understanding that you believe under your theory, the Lexus for event 1162-2 backed up 53 feet? Am I correct?
No, it backed up a total of 87 feet.
Okay, let's take your 87. It backed up a total of 87, okay?
Correct.
And your further theory is that it did so and reached 24 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
And you stated you have an understanding of a certain number of people, and I don't want to talk about the inside of the house, but just that were at 34 Fairview between roughly 12 and 1 a.m. Do you have an understanding of that, sir? Approximately.
I believe I do.
And what is that number?
Do you want them, people that were there for that entire window of time, or just?
Yes, 12 to 1.
Oh,
So Mr. Alessi, just move to the last question.
Right, sure. So, sir, did you assume that there were cars parked out front of 34 Fairview at that 12 to 1 o'clock window? Did you assume any cars parked out front?
the entire time?
No, I'm just talking 12 to, yeah, any time between 12 and 1. Did you make any assumptions whether there were cars parked out front on the roadway at 34 Fairview? Did you make any assumptions with regard to that?
At a point in time, there was a vehicle behind it.
I'm sorry?
There was a vehicle behind it.
Just one?
That is my understanding. In terms of on the street, is
On
your
the street,
question?
exactly.
Yes.
And what, do you remember the type of vehicle?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle was it?
An F-150 pickup?
Did you have any understanding as to whether there was a Jeep vehicle on the road at that 12 to 1 time period?
I had seen testimony somewhere to that effect, but the majority of the testimony was there were no other vehicles.
But you did see testimony that there was also a Jeep type vehicle on the front, out the front of 34 Fairview between 12 and 1. Is that what you're recalling?
So I'm going to let that answer stand, what he's just testified to. Just go ahead and.
Okay, so Dr. Welcher, what I want to do is to have you, using your data, you say 87 feet for the backup, correct?
Correct.
1162.2, up to 24 miles per hour. Isn't there a likelihood, if there is at least one vehicle out in front of 34 Fairview, that there would be a collision of the Lexus SUV with the vehicle out front?
No, the vehicle had left prior to the end or prior to event 1162-2.
What information do you have with regard to how many vehicles are in front of 34 Fairview at between 12 and 1?
So I have Ms. Reed's interview statements. I have statements of a number of witnesses. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names.
Let's not.
I was just going to say, let's not just number of vehicles.
Okay, so I have a number of witness statements at multiple statements from the same witnesses at different times, indicating the path and following the Lexus to the house and then leaving before the event.
Assume that there were vehicles, at least one vehicle, parked out front of 34 Fairview. Is there a likelihood that given 24 miles per hour over 87 feet, is there a likelihood that there would be a collision given the weather conditions as you knew them to be at that time?
Well, the weather I don't think necessarily plays into whether there would be a collision or not, but we know it backed up 87 feet. So again, it goes forward like 35-ish and then back like 60-something. And so if something is within 65 feet of the rear of it, or whatever the numbers are, I would need my slides.
It was 50.
50,
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
57. If something is within that window, then it would hit it.
All right, good. So now let's look at another scenario. If it's going as you describe it, is there a likelihood that the Lexus would also go upon the lawn in front of 34 Fairview?
It depends on where it starts.
You have an opinion, don't you, as to where it starts?
No, I do not. That's actually why I have that diagram showing it off to the side.
That's
I'm
right.
simply showing how far it moved forward, how far it moved back.
Exactly.
We don't know where on the roadway it started.
Exactly. You don't know where on the roadway it started, and therefore all you have is the distance covered, correct?
Correct.
So, but you're saying the distance is 87 feet, correct?
87 feet backwards, yes.
So backwards, 24 miles an hour. Have you ever driven a vehicle backwards 24 miles an hour, sir?
Yes, I think I've driven this Lexus backwards 24 miles an hour.
Right. So if anybody who's driven a vehicle back, have you ever driven any vehicle back 24 miles an hour at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning?
Probably not since I got out of high school.
Have you ever done it when there's a storm that is beginning?
No.
Have you ever done it when there is less than clear visibility?
No and no.
And have you ever done it when there's low lighting?
Oh, maybe when I've been up skiing in the snow, I've done it. But again, that's been decades.
Right. So 87 feet, 24 miles an hour. Are you saying that in every instance that vehicle will stay on the road, and for 34 Fairview it wouldn't go up on the lawn?
When you mean every instance, mean like every possible location on the road it starts from?
Correct.
No, there's some spots, if you start here, it's going to go up on the road, on the yard. If you start too far on the other side, you're going to go over into the neighbor's yard. So it depends on where you start.
Right. And so given the conditions that we've just described, right?
Conditions
the weather,
have nothing to do with where you start.
I need to finish my
Hold
question,
on.
sir.
Only one at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
Let him finish his question, please.
Given the conditions that you've described, it is reasonable to conclude that that vehicle, under your parameters, would have gone up on the lawn. Is that a reasonable conclusion?
No.
So you don't think there's any possibility that could occur, a vehicle going 24 miles an hour at this location, 87 feet backwards, in the dark, with wet pavement at a minimum, and low lighting? You don't believe it's possible for the vehicle to, under your scenario, to have gone up on the lawn? That's not possible.
So your first question was reasonable, and I said no. Now you're asking possible. It, of course, is possible. Whether it's reasonable or not, I'd have to know the starting position.
Right.
If it's very close to the side, then it could be reasonable. If it's further towards the middle of the road because snow is building up on the side of the road, then it's probably not as reasonable. I would need more information to be able to determine whether it's reasonable or not. It's certainly possible. It's possible it could have shot off into space as an engineer, but not probable.
Oh, you think it's possible that it could have been shot off into space, sir?
As an engineer, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility that
Absolutely.
this Lexus could have been shot off into space?
Yeah. Highly, highly unlikely. But
All right.
again, you're asking an engineer about possibilities and probabilities.
Let's get back to reality. So, in terms of the Lexus itself, because you, under your method of analysis, don't have the starting point, you can't rule out that under your scenario, the vehicle would have gone up on the lawn. You can't rule that out, can you, sir?
I cannot. No, it could have.
Okay.